Hello Cancer and welcome to my channel Tarot by Gabrielle. This is going to be a general reading for Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus placements, looking at your recent past, your current energy, and your immediate future, answering the question, what do you need to know right now in order to move forward in alignment with your higher self? Friendly reminder that these are general readings. They are not here to resonate fully for everyone, and they won't resonate fully for everyone. So do please remember to take what does resonate and helps your personal situation and leave what does not. Last thing is that any information on the extended reading or on booking a personal reading or coaching session with me is in the description box below. All right, Cancer, let's jump on in and see what you guys are dealing with. Let's start, Cancer, with looking at your recent past. What has Cancer been dealing with? And this is just going to be overall energy, and then we will jump into tarot to dive into the story a little bit deeper. Overall energy for Cancer's recent past. You have accept help. So an energy of feeling a little bit alone, for sure. And then you have meant to be with knowledge. I feel like this could be like having issues with your support system, like the people that you typically rely on, maybe feeling like you couldn't rely on them as much for some reason. I feel like maybe this is common for you in a lot of ways, Cancer. Maybe you are always the person that shows up for others, or that other people can rely on. But then when it comes down to it, like when you need help, it kind of feels like you are typically in situations where then you feel alone. It's like you're always there for other people, but then they're not really there for you. And I feel like there was a situation recently where this became really obvious, just like maybe your relationships are one-sided, or like, you give everything you have to a job or a company, but then you need a day off, or, whatever the case might be. And then, they're not even able to provide that for you, even though you go above and beyond for them, like things like that. It feels like there's definitely this energy of being in places where you maybe had a tendency to have your energy get a little bit taken for granted. And I think that that's something that maybe you've been battling potentially for your whole life, but I feel like specifically in this past energy, there was some sort of situation that really brought a lot of this to the surface. Now, I will say, I think that you have a tendency to, I don't know, like maybe feel like you have to overgive in some ways. Let's keep going. Current energy here for Cancer. What does Cancer need to know about their current energy? You have support with accept responsibility, and then you have higher power here. Okay, I think that sometimes the hardest part of changing dynamics, like in our relationships or in our life in general, like getting to a place where we're, overgiving, or where we're completely burnt out, or whatever the case is, sometimes we have to look at how we do that so that we feel comfortable pulling back our energy. And I feel like this is a time to really make sure that you're being there for yourself first and foremost. I think that you might have a tendency to maybe abandon self for the needs of others. And though sometimes that we do have to do that, put others' needs ahead of our own, when we're doing it consistently, we're eventually going to get to a place where we're completely drained and we have nothing else to give to the world around us. I think that we kind of have this tendency as a society to look at taking care of ourselves first as something that's very selfish, but I actually think that it's the other way around. I think that it's actually one of the more selfless things that you can do, because if you want to show up for this world in the ways that you need to, whether it's for your relationships, for a career path, or just for in general, like showing up for the people around you, you cannot pour from an empty cup. And so sometimes when we're constantly dealing with an empty cup, the universe pushes us to really make sure that we are taking care of ourselves first so that we can show up for our responsibilities. And I feel like this is about really making sure that you are filling up your cup first, especially if you are really used to pouring from an empty cup. And I will also say that that's what's really hard, is sometimes we have to be honest with ourselves about, do we have good boundaries in our life? And not just in terms of boundaries in our relationships, which are important, but also like work-life boundaries, or boundaries with ourselves to know I'm not going to overgive, or I'm not going to say yes to things that, I don't feel like I'm emotionally or physically capable of, out of obligation, that people-pleasing mentality. Maybe that's just in general kind of like kicking the people-pleasing way, which I know can be really hard. I myself am a recovering people-pleaser, but I don't know. I feel like specifically right now, this is a huge theme in your life, and it maybe has affected a lot of your relationships, or just in general, like your mental or emotional well-being. So what does Cancer need to know moving forward? Because I feel like there's just in general this energy of feeling really undervalued. Like no matter what kind of energy you show up with, like it's never really feels like it's enough. Process your feelings. What else? Okay, I want the card to turn all the way around or hit the table. I feel like this is interesting, yeah, because then there's courage. Because look at both of these cards. They're mirrored, right? It's like a mirror image on the other side. We have to learn to really view our life as a mirror and as a reflection of us, or the ways that we treat ourselves. Sometimes when we're consistently being undervalued by the people or the situations around us, sometimes that's indicative of us undervaluing ourselves in some way, or believing that our value stems from how much we burn ourselves out, or from how much we overgive. And I feel like the universe is asking you to have courage to change your perspective in some ways, because I feel like you are deserving of so much more than what you've kind of been receiving to this point. And I feel like you are maybe really used to being in a place where you're receiving a lot less than what you're giving. Like maybe it's financially, maybe in your relationships, maybe just kind of across the board. And it always feels like your energy, and I was kind of saying this before I pulled these cards, but it always feels like your energy is always very undervalued, and almost as if no matter where you put yourself, just feeling, like I said, as if you're never enough. And I feel like this is kind of this reflection of you in some ways believing that you're not enough. And as you move forward, the universe is putting you into situations where I feel like you're being asked to believe in your value more than you ever really have, and to believe that your value is not dictated by how much value you provide others. Like you are inherently valuable and you do provide value to others, but that's not where your value stems from. So I feel like it's about changing really the way that you value yourself, which is ultimately going to change what it is that you receive. Because yeah, I feel like I don't know. I feel like you've been putting up with a lot, and it just kind of feels like there's this need to put your foot down and make sure that you are, like I said, taking care of yourself in some ways, or making sure that before you jump into the role of taking care of others, that you are looking out for yourself, which I know isn't always easy. Sometimes we're in situations where we do have to take care of others first, whether it's parenthood, or whether it, dealing with a sick friend or family member, whatever the case is. And again, there are going to be periods where you're going to have to put your needs aside, but that shouldn't be something you're doing all of the time. And that's where we have to learn to find that balance, is like, sure, yes, I have to put my needs aside, take care of this, but then also making sure that you are prioritizing what you need to. Otherwise, you're going to consistently experience a reality where your needs are never being met, because if you're not meeting them and the people that you're pouring into aren't meeting them, then who's going to meet them? Eventually, like I said, you're going to be pouring from an empty cup. Overall theme of this reading for Cancer. This is a little bit of a different reading, because I also feel like this could be this energy of feeling always very alone. Like you're always there for everyone else. You're always there to meet the needs of everyone else, but just feeling like nobody's ever really there for you. I don't know. The overall theme of this reading for Cancer, this is interesting, and I'm definitely interested to dive deeper into the story, because I feel like as you move forward, you're being asked to change this narrative. Like, the only one that can change that narrative is you, right? Like, you're the only one who can set boundaries. You're the only one who can face those uncomfortable feelings that come with really putting yourself first, even when it's hard. Overall theme of this reading for Cancer. Oh my goodness. The new moon. So it's like a new phase of life. And you have fire, which to me is very action oriented. You're being called to action in some way, called to change. Because I feel like the universe is saying you need to stop putting up with what you've been putting up with. And I think that sometimes that's so much easier said than done, right? Like, there's always a reason why you're putting up with the things that you are. But it's almost like this energy of nothing's going to change if nothing ever changes. Like, I've really learned that and I used to think that in my career, like in the past when I was in my past life when I was a financial advisor, it was like, oh, if I just pour my heart and soul into my work, like, I'm going to get recognized for it and people are going to see my value and I'm going to rise through the ranks and then it's going to be all worth it. But that's not really, it was like I gave and gave and gave, and that actually just became the expectation. It was like, oh, that's Gabby, she just gives all that she has, and like I didn't get like rewarded for it or whatever the case is, and nobody valued me more. It was just kind of that expectation. And that's what happens. It happens in relationships. It happens in all kinds of dynamics. You know, when we show up giving and giving and giving and self-sacrificing, we're not really seen as like, oh, wow, you have so much to give and you're so valuable. It's really seen as like that becomes the expectation, and the other person doesn't really change, or the other, side of things doesn't typically change the way they're treating you, because sometimes we pour our heart and soul into things thinking that that's going to get us something, or get us, get them to see our value or whatever the case is. But then we're left feeling not good enough because you're like, well, I pour into everyone and everything around me, but then I always feel like I'm empty. And sometimes we have to look at like how we're not filling our own cup up first. So I feel like you're being led to a new phase in your life. And I feel like that's what this new moon is really about, a new cycle, right? A new moon, kind of like the first phase of a new cycle. And I feel like that comes with really putting your foot down. And I feel like that's what you're being pushed to do in this situation. And this could be dealing with friends, family, work, I don't know. But you're being asked to put your foot down and say, enough is enough. I deserve two. Like, I deserve to receive two, because you absolutely do. But let's dive deeper into this story. Let's see, Cancer, what this recent past energy has to say, what you were dealing with, and what you need to know about it. And then the process you're feeling is like, when you really start putting your foot down, sorry, something else came through. I will pull tarot in a second. But when you start putting your foot down and you start setting boundaries, there's going to be so much that arises with that. You're going to start to feel guilt. You're going to start to second guess yourself. You're going to start to wonder, because people pleasing comes from this place of believing that it makes you more palatable to other people. It's like, if I people please, then that means that I'm going to be safe, right? If I'm making sure that everyone else is comfortable and everyone else is happy, then I'm going to feel safe. And we have to learn that your job is not to make other people comfortable. Like, it's not. Your job is to be who you are and to act as you need to act within reason, right? I'm not talking about just being an asshole to everyone, but, making sure that you're showing up, loving yourself, and being authentically you, and understanding that if people don't see the value in that, or if they don't choose to reciprocate that, that's, at the end of the day, it becomes your responsibility to either say, this is enough for me, or I need more. And that's what's really hard is, we think that we get in this mindset of thinking that other people dictate our worth, but other people do not dictate your worth. You are the only one who dictates your worth, and you dictate it through how you do and do not allow other people to treat you, which is something that took me a really long time to learn, and I will say I think I am still learning. But okay, past energy for Cancer. Because again, there's just this energy of feeling lonely, just feeling as if, there's the 9 of Wands, stuck in a cycle, it's like, I don't know, it's like nothing, it just feels like it's so unsurprising, or so not surprising, like I'm not even surprised anymore, like this is just how things go. The Hierophant, kind of like a wake-up call, in a sense. It's almost like maybe you were pushed to your limit in some way. Like something finally like made you crack, where you're like, I can't do this anymore. Yeah, because here's the 10 of Wands in reverse. This is literally the need to put down the burdens of other people. I feel like you were carrying so much. And it's like, it didn't even matter. Now, I don't want you to think that I'm saying it doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter, okay? Because the things that you do for other people, the value that you provide is so insanely valuable. Sometimes other people don't see that and appreciate that, though, and that doesn't mean you're not valuable. It just means that you're kind of dealing with the wrong people. Now, I will say, like, in this situation, I feel like something happened, like some sort of a wake-up call where you were like, I don't know, so if someone did something, or maybe you were in a situation where, like, you finally needed help, even though you've always been the one giving help, and then somebody wasn't there for you, and you were like, oh, like, I see how things are, whatever the case is. I just feel like something kind of gave you a different perspective on something, and I feel like that's why you're really being called now to put your foot down, because I feel like whatever this is talking about, I don't know if it's like a partnership or what it was, but like, I feel like you were really carrying the majority of the burden in that. Like, it was like, it's supposed to be a 50-50 thing, but like, you were always the one giving more. Now, no relationship, no partnership is going to be 50-50 all the time, right? Like, there's going to be days where you have more to give and you're like, yeah, I can show up with 80-90% if you only have 10 or 20. But then there, on the days where you only have 10 to 20%, the other person should be willing to really pick up the slack to show up with the 80-90%. And I feel like you were always the one showing up with the 70-80-90%. And even on days where you felt like you didn't have that, it was still expected of you. And that's where the problem arises. And I think that again, I don't know what this is talking about. The Three of Pentacles is what makes me think team. It's like a teammate of some sort. But then, you have this meant to be card too, which kind of feels like your community in a way. Like this kind of gives me the Three of Cups vibes. And I feel like, I don't know, it's like you were just kind of in this place where we're like, oh, so I can give all day long, but as soon as I need something, it's like it's not given. And I think that might kind of be the story of your life. Maybe you're like, oh, that's actually all my relationships. And that might be why you're really being asked to look at the dynamic in the relationships that you have. I know for a long time, I was experiencing like one thing over and over again in my relationships. And it was like, it's kind of crazy that, I keep experiencing this feeling. And it was like, well, maybe I need to kind of address my role in it, right? Like, if I'm consistently being underappreciated by the people around me, maybe I'm attracting the wrong kinds of people for me. And I will say, like, when I started choosing to value myself more than I valued, like, the opinions of others or the companionship of others, other people started valuing me, which actually brought me deeper connections, like better situations. So, and I don't want us to sound like I don't value people in my life, but I don't value people in my life more than I value myself. It's equal, it's even, it should be. And I think that's where what you're being asked to do now is like really step into this new phase of like, honestly, not taking any BS. And maybe you don't usually, like maybe you, like you're really good at not, I don't know, it's like, but you keep coming back to it. You keep coming back to people that, I don't know, don't appreciate you, value you, reciprocate you in some way. Or again, it could be like a job. It doesn't just have to be romantic love. In fact, I really, really encourage you in these general readings to think outside the box of romantic love, because sometimes, these types of patterns can sure appear in our relationships, but appear in our life in general and give us deeper insight into what's really going on. But all right, current energy here for Cancer. I'm not saying don't think about it in that sense if that's what resonates for you, but sometimes these things can apply to so many different aspects of our life, and we might miss the deeper messages if we're focusing, so much on one aspect of our life. All right, current energy here for Cancer. And I feel like just seeing this, right? This is kind of like addressing your relationship with you in a sense, like really looking at, because it's literally the moon's reflection. So it's like looking at, how the things around you are a reflection of your relationship with yourself. There's some blessings in disguise going on around you right now. You're being asked to set boundaries, and maybe like some hard line drawn in the sand boundaries, like absolutely no crossing this line kind of boundaries. And I will say, like, maybe that has led you to losing people. Or maybe that will lead you to losing people, or maybe that's the fear, right? And because there's the 10 of Swords, Wheel of Fortune in reverse, 7 of Wands. So you're really being asked. I mean, this is literally like this putting your foot down kind of energy, this boundaries kind of energy. And I feel like with this Wheel of Fortune in reverse, what you need to know is, like, even if that does cause you to lose people in your life, any loss that you acquire due to speaking your truth or being honest about what you need or putting your foot down and saying enough is enough, I don't deserve to be treated this way, like, any loss that occurs from that is not a loss. It is alignment with what is truly meant for you, which sometimes, yes, does, lead to some form of loss. And I don't want to downplay the loss, right? You got to feel and process and grieve whatever it is you need to grieve. But this 10 of Swords isn't fair to you. And I feel like you're constantly getting kind of stabbed in the back by the situations around you. And I feel like the reason that this is both showing up in your past energy and in your current energy is because I feel like this is something you consistently deal with. And I think that a lot of times we wait for other people to treat us better, and we wait for other people to value us or to show up for us, or for our boss to finally, give us that promotion that we've been deserving of. And a lot of times, if it isn't happening, we have to make it happen. And I don't mean make your boss give you that promotion, but you have to say, okay, if you're not going to value me, I'm going to go somewhere that is. Or, like, if you're not going to treat me the way that I deserve to be treated, like, I'm sorry, but I need to create distance in this relationship because this isn't good for me. And that's what putting your foot down really is about. We talk about in the spiritual community how, a spiritual journey is all about your return to love. It's all about getting closer and closer to love. And, I think a lot of times people see love as this selfless act. And though, yes, love is selfless in the core fundamental of what it means, it doesn't mean abandoning self, though. It can mean putting needs aside, right? But it's not a consistent self-abandonment. And I feel like there's been this consistent self-abandonment in your life. And what did I see the other day? It was like doing your best. Oh, what did it say? Oh, it was so perfect. I posted it actually to my personal story. It was like, doing your best does not mean showing up disregarding your mental and emotional well-being. It means doing your best while taking that into consideration. That's not exactly what it said, and I think the way that it said it was much better. I think what I said was way wordier. But I think a lot of times we think, oh, doing my best is, pushing myself to my limits and sacrificing and betraying myself and all those things. But that actually leads us to experiencing a reality where we are being betrayed by the people around us, where we're not being valued. If we're not holding ourselves to a standard of saying this is what I deserve in this world, then we're going to constantly receive back so much less than that. Our life really is a reflection of how we show up for ourselves. And it's hard because I think that it's not so fun to look at it that way. But if other people aren't valuing you, there's typically this feeling is that you're not valuable associated. And I say this from experience. I look back at relationships where I wasn't treated well, and I'm like, you know what? At the end of the day, and I'm not blaming myself for this, I was doing the best I could with the information that I had at the time. But at the end of the day, I was allowing me to be treated that way because that's what I thought that I was worth. That's what I thought I deserved. And I don't look back on that with like guilt and shame and wow, I should have known better. I look back at that with love for that version of me that was literally just trying to be loved. It was just trying to be successful. It was just that version of me was just trying to survive. And that's not something I'm going to, hold negatively against myself. But sometimes, I will be honest, we have to look at the role we play. And when we're dealing with like friends who constantly aren't treating you well or things of that nature, instead of taking that as an opportunity to prove that you deserve better to them, take it as an opportunity to focus on what's within your control. One of my favorite theories is the let them theory. And it's really the theory of letting people do what they're going to do. Let people not grow. Let people cross your boundaries. Let people treat you poorly. Let people walk away. Let people undervalue you. Like, don't try to change what they do, but respond. Make sure if somebody's crossing your boundaries, you distance yourself. You get the hell out of there. If somebody isn't valuing you and you have set boundaries or you have asked to be valued in a certain way or treated in a certain way and they don't show up for that, let them. Don't argue with them. Don't try to prove it. Just say, you know what? Okay, thank you. You have shown me where I stand with you, and I am not going to allow myself to get caught up in that. And distance yourself, right? Like focusing on what you're, and none of this is easy, okay? That's why it takes courage to do that. But I feel like you're being asked to raise the standard for what you deserve in your life and how you deserve to be treated, and understand that anything that is lost because you're raising the standard of how you deserve to be treated is only going to be replaced with better. That's the biggest thing you need to know. That's why I feel like you need to know you're being taken to kind of a new phase in your life. What does Cancer need to know moving forward? What does Cancer need to know moving forward? Should they choose to move forward in alignment with their higher self? Don't let other people make you think you're any less than you are just because they might see your energy as replaceable, because anybody who sees you as replaceable isn't valuing you for who you really are. And that goes for across the board, friends, relationships, with romantic partners, family members, but careers especially. Like if you are just seen as something that is replaceable, you are probably not being valued according to how you deserve to be valued. What does Cancer need to know? Why are these cards not coming out? I'm going to reshuffle really quick. Maybe I need to change what I'm asking. What can Cancer expect should they choose to move forward in alignment with their higher self? What can Cancer expect should they choose to move forward in alignment with their higher self? Ace of Cups. Okay. All right. There's the Emperor. There's the Seven of Swords. Okay. New aligned opportunities is what the Ace of Cups is all about. It's like emotional opportunities, whether that's in friendship and love. Like, I think one of the hardest things about setting a standard for how you deserve to be treated in your life is we tend to, on the basis of who we are as human beings, like we desire human connection, right? We desire community. We desire to be in spaces where we belong. And a lot of times what happens is we actually will try to shape shift to fit ourselves into where we belong. But what really is happening is we're forcing ourselves to fit into places we don't belong, right? And when we stop trying to do that and we raise the standard for what it is that we deserve in this life, especially when it comes to how we deserve to be valued and treated, we have to face the fear that we're never, like, nothing's ever going to come along that is going to value us or treat us well. And that's where fear plays a huge, everything that we desire is on the other side of what it is that we fear. If we fear being alone, we tend to settle in relationships. If we fear failure, we might settle in a safe career path, or whatever the case might be. And that isn't wrong. That's completely natural and understandable, but it will always keep you from the life that you truly deserve. And this Emperor is really about taking charge and understanding that you are the only person in this world that determines your worth and what you deserve. You really, really are. But you have to do that despite the unknown. You have to do that despite not seeing how things are going to work out or what that's going to look like. You have to walk away from the people that don't treat you well, believing that there are people out there that will, when you fear that there aren't, right? Especially if you have spent a majority of your life feeling very alone. And I think that this is about believing in and having the courage to believe that you are so much more valuable than you think, and that there are people out there that will see that and treat you with the same amount of love, energy, respect, like that will reciprocate you in the way that you deserve. But those people can't find you unless you believe they exist, because you only have so much energy, okay, that you can give, right? Think of your ability, your capacity to give and receive is going to be in a cup, okay? You only have so much energy to give and so much to receive. And if you're giving all of your energy out to things that don't serve you, you have no room for the energy of the things that do, right? So if you're giving to friendships that don't value you, or relationships that treat you poorly, or jobs or careers that don't reciprocate you or compensate you well, like in the ways that you deserve. Like you're like, well, why can't I have the things that I desire? And it's like, well, you have no more energy to give to those things, therefore, and what you give to is what you receive from. So if you're giving to things that don't reciprocate you, you're giving, but you're never really being refilled because those things aren't giving you back energy. So eventually you're run dry. And then relationships fall apart, or things happen, or tower moments, or whatever the case is, because the universe is saying you have nothing left to give. You need to give to yourself. And I feel like that's what you're being asked to do right now, is to give to yourself all that you're looking for from other people, and understanding that what that's going to do, because your life, your outer world, is a reflection of your inner world, that's going to lead you to people and situations that reciprocate you. Because, again, and I say this a lot in my readings, and I feel like it can be a really triggering thing to hear, but our life is a reflection of what we believe we deserve. And when we raise the standard for what we believe we deserve, we tell the universe, we send out the energy to the universe that says, I deserve more than this. And the universe will always respond to what it is that we're putting out. But if we're putting out energy only giving to things that don't treat us well, or don't reciprocate us, or make us feel good or valued, then what we're telling the universe is, this is as good as this is all that I want. And the universe is going to say, okay. And it's going to keep showing up with less than what you deserve. So you determine that, nobody else. You determine your value. You determine what you're worth, nobody else. And you are worth so much more than what you are allowing. And I feel like you know that. But you are the only person who can put your foot down and really change that. Interesting reading. We're going to hop on over to the extended. This is what you need to know right now. The extended is more tangible advice, focusing on what you can do or what you need to do right now to move forward in alignment with your higher self. Any information for that is in the description box below. Thank you so much, Cancer, as always, for your support of my channel. I do obviously hope that this reading helped and resonated with you in a way that you were needing today. And as always, Cancer, I wish you nothing but love and healing and all of the wonderful things that you deserve and desire on your journey moving forward. All right, bye, Cancer.